Welcome to the Calculated Risks podcast. Today I am joined with James Boyd, co-founder and CEO of hiyrd, a new platform to help Gen Z find new roles. James, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
It's a pleasure. So one of the first questions we always start with on this podcast is, can you think back to a time when you first took a risk, how it made you feel at the time, and how it affects your decision making today?
Wow. Okay. I think that probably the first time I ever took like a really big risk was so myself and my now fiance, we went on holiday to Singapore and we really enjoyed sort of our time there. And when we came home, we were like, oh, maybe we should move there. So I ended up getting a job over there. Kind of got headhunted for a job there. We moved over there, just dropped everything, moved to this new country, and maybe like 2 weeks in to this job, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't like it. It's not for me. I'd always wanted to do my own business. I'd always wanted to try something. Always wanted to try entrepreneurship. And I was just in this amazing, vibrant sort of city. It was just amazing to be there. And I was like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to try this business. I've got this business idea. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to do this business. So much to the really big annoyance of my now fiance, surprisingly. I quit my job and I started my company. We lived on just her salary in like the most expensive city in the world in our tiny little apartment. And you know, yeah, sure, it was probably the biggest risk I've ever taken. And I'm not going to pretend that it was easy and that like, you know, there wasn't times where it really, really sucked, because there was a lot of times it was hard. But yeah, it was a big risk to take and it paid off. And I know that risks don't always pay off. But you know, it did. And I was really glad that I did sort of take that risk. I'm quite a sort of, I'm not really particularly risk averse. I don't, you know, but when I was younger, in my teens, I did a lot of sort of adventure sports and, you know, was quite into sort of, had a bit of a fixation with adrenaline. So yeah, I was always keen to take a risk. And I think that's probably translated into starting my own sort of businesses and entrepreneurship.
Where you are today.
Yeah, definitely.
And you mentioned there, obviously you were living off your now fiance's salary.
Yeah.
Obviously that must have been very stressful, living in Singapore, expensive city.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was mad. There was a restaurant at the corner of where we used to live, and it sold. Anyone who lives in Singapore would know it's called Botak Jones. It's gone now, which it's probably because we are not going there anymore. But it used to sell like this like squeaky chicken. You could buy this chicken, and it was like squeaky as you could.
Squeaky chicken.
Yeah, and it was like a few dollars for this chicken, and it was really cheap. So we just eat there like every day with this like super cheap chicken and yeah, like tins of tuna and stuff. So yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. But at least we had the weather. You know, it can't have all been bad. So yeah, so it was difficult, but you know, like with everything, you know, you just keep looking and sort of always, you know, especially for me, I'm a very visual guy. I'm a big vision guy.
And going through that period of obviously transitioning, you've just moved to a foreign country.
Yeah,
culture's different. Yeah. You've gone from a very secure environment to now I'm going to do this by myself.
Yeah.
When you made that decision and you were going through that process, how were you feeling in that time?
I was a bit younger at the time, so I was like 21. So I was probably the biggest thing. I was feeling excited. I'm nervous because I thought, oh my God, my fiance's going to kill me if I get this wrong. But just generally excited because I think there's nothing that quite feels like when you sort of start your own business and you start it's your thing. So if it doesn't work out, or, you know, it's not like, you know, you can say, oh, it was my manager and my manager was no good, or this was a problem, or I didn't have this. It's like, you know, you're kind of it. You're it. So yeah, it was, at the time, it was a lot of feeling of excitement. And the big thing for me as well is that it was kind of for me, the business I started was in an industry I had no experience. Like, I couldn't have had any less experience in that industry. I had no idea what I was doing. And I think, again, maybe it's that young naivety in me being like, yeah, it'd be great, no problem. So yeah, like I said, at the time, really, really excited, but there's obviously a bit of nerves around it, and is this going to work? But I was just sort of look, what's the worst that happens if it doesn't work?
Just come
I
home.
can find another job. I can come home. I can, and then you do it all again. So I mean, fortunately, it worked. So yeah.
And going through those experiences, how do you approach risk now?
I'd like to say it's much in the same way, and it kind of is. I think it's easier to approach those previous risk factors when you've already done it before.
It's all hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah. So now when I take risk with a business or I start a new venture, you've already made a lot of mistakes. You've already done a lot of things wrong, and you go, okay, I'm going to learn from that now. And I think as well for me, it helped on sort of the latest venture having like a co-founder. I think it helps with the risk factor. I think it's not necessarily just about whether that's like risk of losing capital, whether it's the risk of things falling apart. It's more so the risk of like mental state. And I think having a co-founder, someone there who's on that journey with you, and someone who can sort of help you make the decisions, help you, sort of both use your strengths and help where the weaknesses are. I think that helped a lot. So now, in terms of when I look at things, yeah, I probably don't see it the same way as I did when I took my first major risk in business. And I think each time you go forward, you don't see risks the same. You see them very differently. And that's, I mean, that's the same for everybody, isn't it? The
Most
first
definitely.
one's the biggest one. The first one's the biggest one. And then it just gets a little bit less each time then.
And moving on from that now, and obviously it's nice to have a co-founder that you can lean on, bounce ideas off, and at the end of the day, you're both in it together.
Sure.
Do you and your co-founder have sort of a framework that you guys work off when you're making decisions?
The only way I can describe it is I have always been and forever will be like the sort of A to Z guy. Like that's just who I am.
Direct.
I'm like, this is where I want to be. Like we're going to hear. This is where we're going to get. This is what we're going to do. We're going to hit this. And the great thing about Sam, my co-founder now, is he's like, that's great. I love it. But how do we go A to B? And then how do we go B to C? And then C to D? And I think you really need both. I think you need like an excellent operator, someone who's amazing at the day-to-day. But I also think you need that crazy visionary person because if you're going to aim as high as you can and you fall short, well, you're falling short quite high. Whereas if you aim kind of middle of the road, and you know what, like without getting too much into it, but I think it's one of the things that we're really, really like can be really bad at as like British people is we're like super, super like pessimistic. We have very little optimism. So everyone's like, well, I'm just going to try. And we have some of the best ideas people in the world. Like we're the best at coming up with ideas. And I think if we took like American optimism, and used it, it'd be frightening. That's
very interesting point.
You would get out of here. It's just a fact. Like the UK, we produce the best ideas, but a lot of people are too afraid to take them because there is always this air of pessimism. Oh no, you can't do that. Oh, that'll never happen. It's like, but what if it did? Have a bit of that. Have a bit more of like, well, what if it did?
Where do you think that thought process comes from?
It's difficult to know, isn't it? But I mean, I suppose I can only speak for myself. I had two very sort of different parents. I had a dad who was very, sort of out there, never wants to work for anyone, old school business guy. And then a mom who was just like, take no risk, 9 to 5 jobs, which is fine. It's fine both ways. It's fine both ways. And they were both super supportive of everything I've ever done. So I could never ask for sort of better parents than them. But I do think there is an element of like, if you've got two parents that are both of the mindset of go to school, work hard, get a qualification, go to university, get a job, how difficult is that to get out of? And I don't think the education system wants to push that sort of entrepreneurship in people either. You know, I imagine there's so many people out there who've got the most crazy ideas, and you'd say it to someone and you'd go, that's insane. That'll never work. But actually, I think all it would take is someone to go, what if it did work there?
Just need the right team behind you.
You do. You just need the right person. You know, when me and Sam came up with the current idea, it was never, we never once said, oh no, that couldn't work. You know, it was always just a case of going, okay, what can we do? What's the biggest thing we could do?
Yeah, it's very important to have that self-belief.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I know you. The viewers don't know you. We've obviously touched, your experiences of moving to Singapore, but give us a overall idea of your background, where it started, and where you are now.
Okay, so I was born in Liverpool, for my sins, and my parents had the escape to the country dream when I was sort of younger. We moved from Liverpool to a place in the Midlands called Hereford. So I grew up in Hereford in the countryside. My main sort of background when I was sort of, in my early teens was I really enjoyed adventure sports. So I, did a lot of whitewater kayaking, did a lot of climbing, did a lot of mountaineering, kind of just worlds away from like corporate and business, and that's what I did for a number of years. And I went to university and I studied it. I spent some time living in Norway, doing adventure education, and yeah, I loved it. It was great. It was awesome. I still do now. I still really enjoy being out on the hills. And then I met my current fiance when I was at university, and that was when we moved to Singapore. And that's when I had sort of quit my job, started my business, and worked really, really hard into that business. Really put a lot into it. Met another sort of terrific partner that came in really early into that business whilst we were over there in Singapore, and yeah, he really helped sort of shape the business as well. We kind of grew it, moved back to the UK. The business was sort of taking off, getting more and more traction, and yeah, I eventually just decided that I just needed a bit of I think sometimes you can have that almost like that burnout where I work so hard for it.
I experienced that myself recently.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the best feeling, is it? You work,
no.
You just, it felt really constant. And I kind of always felt like, with all due respect, I always saw it as like a stepping stone. It was never something that was like my true passion, my true calling. It was never something. And to be honest with you, I think I've met enough people in business that will admit themselves that the thing that they've made a big success out of wasn't actually their passion. I never met anybody in waste management who, when they were at school, said, I can't wait to be logistically planning the bin rounds, and recycling old mattresses. One of the ones to be astronaut and firefighters and stuff, So it was, it was an amazing stepping stone. And it taught me a lot. It taught me a huge amount. It taught me a huge amount about what I did and didn't want, Amazing team of people in that previous business. Just the most phenomenal team of people, which I think is like really important as well. Like having a great team of people is probably the most important thing. So,
going back to Singapore, what got you there originally, and then what made you quit your job to start your own business?
What got us there? A holiday got us there originally. So we went on holiday. So I went on a family holiday. So the first family holiday in years, we went to Singapore because my brother lives in Hong Kong. So we went to Singapore, and then we went to saw my brother in Hong Kong. And then when I came home, me and my fiance, we'd only been together less than a year, I think it was. And I was like, we've got to go on holiday to Singapore. It's great. You'll love it. So we flew out there. I think we had 10 days there. And yeah, we were both just like, this is great. You could live here. The great thing about Singapore is there are certain parts of Southeast Asia and Asia that you go, it's a huge culture shock. You go move to Cambodia, it's a culture shock. It's tough. Yeah. Same even like same can be even stuff like Bangkok. I mean, it's a lot more westernized now than ever before, but it's very, these are places that are like incredible, but wow, big culture shock. Singapore wasn't a culture shock because everyone speaks English. It's their first language. We already knew people over there. We had family friends living there. So to us, it was just this like paradise island in the middle of the sea, with amazing people, super friendly, super safe, great economy, very pricey rent, and very, very pricey everything, but just a great place to be. So, that to us was like, okay, well, we need to be there. And then I'd applied to a job and I got the job. And again, it was with a really cool company. The guys were great. I had no problem with anybody in that company. They were awesome dudes. It just wasn't for me. And I recognized that pretty soon. I'm quite a stubborn guy. I got to the point where I thought, this is just not for me. I don't want to do this. And I was really passionate at the time about building a business. I want to build a business. So yeah, it was that, obviously I did talk to my fiance about it. It wasn't like I just went, right, I've quit. We talked a little bit about it. And,
it wasn't a sassy moment.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't. No, because, she's from the Welsh Valley, so gotta be careful. She's a Welsh girl. So
you've been put in your place.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it was a sort of mutual decision, and we knew it was, we were, like I said, we were both young. At 21, it was like, just try it. Let's go for it. What's the worst? Literally, what's the worst that can happen? You have to come back to the UK. Okay.
It almost makes you think it's worth it straight away.
Yeah, for sure. And what was there not to enjoy? It was exciting. It was really cool, and maybe it was a little difficult, obviously, because although there wasn't a huge culture shock in terms of everyone spoke English, everybody, it was clean. It was, it was phenomenal. Public transport's great. Everything's great. Super easy city to go around. Very small place. It's still a big culture shock in some ways in terms of business, because I'd never done business previously. And now all of a sudden I'm doing business in a totally different country. And I've never had any experience before, really. Other than like coding HTML MySpaces when I was like 14 or 15, and getting some bands to pay me some money. That was it,
So there's something that you said there. Obviously, you mentioned that the culture was different, and obviously business lingo was essentially different from here in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah.
So obviously you started your business and come back to the UK. Obviously you're very successful here in the UK as well. What would you say that the difference are between Singapore business and the UK business?
It's a good question. I mean, some of the big differences are, I think, I found in I always found Singapore and Asia in general like straddles that fine line between like a level of British pessimism with the American optimism.
Interesting.
So it's kind of a halfway house. So there's not as much like, nah, you'll never do that, and not as much, oh my God, take all my money. You found a market that's got X amount of cap. Let's give you as many checks as we can. It's not quite like that, but it was, there wasn't as much sort of regulation and red tape sort of in Singapore as well. It was a little bit more, they just want to get it done. That was what it always felt like in Singapore. Always just felt like, right, just what can we do to it? Like, what technological advances can we look for? So like when we were doing it, it's almost impossible to show like the UK government things here. Oh, we've got this great system. It's improving safety. It's this amazing camera technology. It's going to be great. It's amazing, and no one in the UK government entertains it. They're not interested. No, it's too much like hard work. We'd have to lobby the government. Singapore, we got plenty of times you'd meet the government and they'd want to talk about it. We meet their national airport and they want to use it, and it was just they're willing to try things. I think is the main difference. Most countries in Southeast Asia seem to be willing to give stuff a go, give it a try, and see how it works. There's a level of like, okay, it might be risky, but let's try it. Let's give it a go.
Seems like we need a bit more of that here in the UK, don't we?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. But I find it can just be so difficult sometimes, can't it? Because the environment,
for sure,
it's a difficult environment to operate in, especially at the moment.
Well, look at all the companies now trying to raise capital, and everyone's struggling drastically.
It's huge.
And everyone that I speak to is just, it's been delayed. It's been delayed. Everyone's got these big plans, but obviously you can't do it without funding, right?
And again, this goes back to that earlier point of we have probably the best ideas in the world. We just do. We have some amazing people in this country. There's some amazing young people in this country. We've met some of them. You know, we've met some of the guys at universities who are, you know, real super switched on guys who are doing some amazing things. And unfortunately, my advice to them always is, well, don't, you know, great idea, but you're never going to build and grow it here. Which is why all of the best ideas tend to then be taken and built in America or built in Asia or built in the Middle East, because, you know, that's where, like you say, you have access to capital. People are willing to take a little bit more of a risk. We're quite risk averse as a culture. It's everyone. I'm not the first person to say this. Many people before me have said this. We're super risk averse.
In America, it's more like just throw a dart at the board and
Yeah,
hope one lands.
America's just, I mean, yeah, for sure. But, you know, I mean, I get they've got a much bigger market. You know, they've got a huge market over there. But it's just, it's so frustrating because Britain could have had so many great things if we didn't have, certainly now, without getting political, but certainly a government that feels like it wants to do everything it possibly can, you know, to stifle business growth, which is unfortunate. And again, as if it isn't hard enough. Even in the States, as a well-funded startup with a great idea, even in Asia, it's a really well-funded startup. It's still awful. It's still hard. It still sucks. It's still really difficult. So without support, without capital, and without that sort of belief system in place of people going, yes, you can do it. It's going to be tough, but you can do it. I'd say you're looking at something. You're looking at something that's almost impossible to do.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. It's a massive shame.
But obviously, you've had your success, and we haven't touched on it. But what was that first business idea that you had in Singapore?
So we had sort of through, again, my dad, we had a contact in China who was a professor of computer science and engineering. And he'd had this idea to essentially build this camera that could detect fire. Many people have tried it before. Many people have done it before. There's a couple of big guys who tried it, but it was all like done digitally. And, you know, your biggest issue was you walk up to a camera and hold up an iPad playing a fire and it goes, oh, it's a fire. There you go. It goes into alarm and everyone goes, oh, it's a gimmick. It doesn't work. So he very cleverly came up with the idea of, well, why don't you use the infrared spectrum as well? So we can use a digital spectrum to look for flickering and movement. And then we can use the infrared sort of frequency side as well to look for flickering and flame and movement. And we can pair them together and you can have like a dual analytic for searching for fire, which was great because fire systems generally, it's, you know, they've been around for a long time. It's very much to me when I started, again, with someone who's never been in that industry, it seemed very much like an old boys club of the same companies with the same big contracts, you know, providing the same equipment, making a lot of money. It was a very hard industry to like be a new tech startup and like try and break out and break into. So but my partner in China, his idea of selling a product was like, oh, we'll just wrap it in some bubble wrap and send it to the client. And I'm like, that won't work. This is not how this works. You need C-stamps, there's lots that goes into this. You can't just do one, this doesn't work. So I was like, okay, you're the super genius. I'm just like this ambition, crazy, big vision kid who just wants to try and make something work. So I was like, okay, I'll do that side. So I can clear as day remember sending an email. I know it was a LinkedIn message actually. Even before people were really spamming you with LinkedIn emails, I was that guy who was spamming. And I sent a message. You bear in mind, I knew nothing about the fire industry. And there are right and wrong answers in the fire industry. Very much so. Yeah. And I just sent I think it was like the chief fire officer of the airport in Singapore. I sent him this message and was literally like, I've got this product and you need to see it. And if you don't see it, you're going to regret it. And I just thought, I'm going all in. It's going to be that guy. And I sent this message and thought, well, that's that. And sure enough, like a day later, he comes back to me. He's like, great. I've actually got 12 of our fire engineers coming in for the weekly briefing next Thursday. Would you like to come along? And I'm like, well, I don't know whether this is really good or really bad. Because,
what's the chances of that?
Okay, this has kind of worked. So there's me showing up to this meeting with these like 12 sort of senior fire engineers who've all been in the business for many years. And one of the guys, no doubt, will watch from Securix, who knows who he is, will be thinking now, oh, that he just shouldn't have taken that meeting because he does not know what he's talking about. But I took it, and you know what? I had this conversation all the time, especially with like young entrepreneurs, people who are starting out, and they seem to think that you have to have all of the answers right now. You have to know everything. Well, every single person in that room knew considerably more than me about everything in the fire industry. But not a single person in that room knew more about video fire detection than me. So great, they're all an authority in themselves, but I was an authority because I knew my product and I knew how it could help. And all you need to know is know your product because you're the authority. What you know more than anyone. At the time, no one was doing what we were doing. It was brand new. It's a really innovative idea. It still is. So that's how I saw that meeting. And I didn't go into it nervous thinking, oh God. Yeah, initially when I got the message back, I thought, oh, what have I done? But going into it, okay, let's do it. And it wasn't him.
That's some really great advice. And funny enough, someone had recently given me that advice because I've obviously gone into meetings in the past a little bit under-prepared than I should have been. And you're spot on what you're saying. If you go in there, you understand the problem that you're fixing. And at the end of the day, you're the professional who's coming here to help.
Yeah, definitely.
So question for you, though. This is a little bit off track, but I remember seeing a video years ago of a demonstration somewhere in Asia of a camera, and it picks up the fire in the airport and then it puts it out with a hose pipe. Was
that me? Wow. We did a lot of testing in airports, so I don't know whether you would have seen one of our videos, but there were a lot of videos that came out of China at the time that were sort of doing this like stuff with water cannons and that. And we did do it in China, so the sort of the business side in China, they did sell a lot of systems that did this water cannon stuff. Obviously, like certainly in the Western world, it's a far different game of again, red tape, regulations, approval ratings. So we never did that, but we had some really cool videos of like, you know, the tech working and yeah, and we did some stuff in the airport with their airport firefighters, and we did one where we were testing the camera and it was looking at this plane. So it's their rig that they train the firefighters on, and they set some fires up. And they said, okay, you can stay for the last exercise because the guys are going to come in. We're going to light all these fires. The guys are going to come in and they're going to put it out. So he says, oh, we'll stay and we'll do some detection. Oh, great. So we're like maybe 120 meters away from this mock aircraft. And the guys swing in their sort of fire trucks. And obviously the first thing they do is just douse the thing in foam. And it's coming over the top of the aircraft and we're all thinking, that's coming this way, isn't it? That's getting closer. And sure enough, boom, you know, sort of foam everywhere. It's like a world's most boring foam party.
No music.
No music, except for sirens.
Very secure, though.
Very, very secure. Yeah. Lots of firefighters. So, but yeah. So that was the only video that we ever did like that.
So that was the first business adventure. Yeah. Clearly had some success there.
Yeah.
Still going today.
Yeah.
And fast forward now, the more exciting product, hiyrd.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
So...
Oh, hang on a minute. Let me pause you there.
Okay.
Let's tell the viewers a little bit about hiyrd.
Yeah.
What it is and the problem that you're looking to fix with the platform.
Yeah. So without morbidly offending every recruiter in Britain and the world, sorry. It was just, I have never ever met anyone in business who went, really enjoyed my last recruitment process. It was great.
Have you seen my reviews?
Yours, I'm sure it's different. But during my time when I was, because, me and Sam, who I founded the business with, we had to recruit a lot of people. Sam, especially for the company he worked for or works for. We recruit a lot of people, and it was just never a pleasant experience. And that's not necessarily just recruiters, that's just everything. Because I always found it really, really strange how the first idea you get of a person is like a piece of paper. Well, I'm not hiring a piece of paper last I checked. I'm hiring a person, an individual. So surely the most important thing is for me to check the individual. I want to see, what are you like? How do you act? How do you interact with us? What makes you tick? Do you fit our culture? And, one of the best members of staff we ever hired for my previous business, we met him at a Pizza Express.
It's funny you say that, because one of the old firms that I used to work in, one of the best billers, me and my former business partner, we actually found him in Pure Gym during COVID, where we were all allowed back out again, allowed to go to the gym. And he was actually putting tape on the floor. And I'm not going to go into his personal life, but he was in a bad place. And he could talk. He was a nice guy. He got on with us. He'd speak to us every day in the gym. We managed to get him an interview. Less than a year later, he had no recruitment experience, and he was the top biller. So, yeah, I do agree with you. Personality.
So true. It's so true. You find those outliers, those people who, the guy who we took on, it was for a really technical role, a super technical role, but he just has a stupidly technical brain. He's a really talented guy. And if you'd have seen a CV for him, you probably would have went, he's not the right guy. It's never going to work. But we never saw a CV. I didn't ever see a CV because I saw him, and it was great, and it worked. And like you've just said, it's that story is in countless businesses. Someone says, "Oh, I know a guy, and he's great. You should meet him." And then you meet them, and you go, "Oh, that guy was really cool." So we were just always frustrated with like the CV side of things. The CV thing always frustrated us. And look, don't get me wrong, you need them to a certain extent, where you need to know what the person's qualifications are, where they maybe previously worked. But like the about you bit, come on, really? And I life's busy enough. I don't need to read. I want to speak to you. I want to see you. What do you like? But I would caveat that with, I really believe it works both ways. And I say that because there's plenty of businesses that you can walk into and go, "Oh, I don't fit here." How many businesses spend a lot of money and a lot of time training people to put them into the workforce to then turn around and go, "Actually, this culture, this sucks. I don't like it here. I don't want to work here."
Well, this is one of the things that we advise a lot of our clients on, is culture fit. 9 times out of 10, when we speak to a candidate, the reason why they're looking for a new position is something to do with internally. And another point that I'd like to make, going back to the sort of the CVs, is that's something that me and Kieran go on about all the time. When you look at 90% of CVs, they're very boring.
Yeah.
And I actually recently just did a talk in Swansea University, helping the next generation prepare and best get their CV ready for hiring managers so they stand out. So it's very interesting. But who would you say, or who are you trying to help during this process of creating hiyrd?
I mean, originally we had the idea to sort of help, sort of very specifically young people. So I had a friend who had teenage kids and just said to me, "I have no idea how my 16-year-old daughter's going to find a job." Just engaged on TikTok. Is going to write a CV. And again, me and Sam would, who I co-founded hiyrd with, we'd see a lot of things saying, "Oh, Gen Z are lazy, Gen Z are this, Gen Z are that," and it's like, well, no, they've just grown up with considerably more effective and better ways to do things. They've grown up and we're all creatures that want to be sort of stimulated. We want to see stuff. We want to see things that are visual. That's how most people, not everyone, but a lot of people learn, is they want to see things. When we first started Hiyrd, we'd go meet businesses to like onboard them and say, come and use this new app. And we'd never been into a lot of them. And you go into them and go, this is a really cool place. You guys are cool. The venue's cool. It's a really nice place. But I would never have known this existed. and seriously, you put out a job ad. They put a job ad out on Indeed, and they just get spammed. 50 or 100 CVs by people who've just uploaded the CV once and bookshotted it to as many different companies as they can. And then when that random company turns on and goes, yeah, okay, we like you. You want to come in? You're like, well, who are they? I don't know who they are. Well, and that's just, it's the most ineffective thing ever.
It's a waste of everyone's time, isn't it?
It's everyone's time.
Especially for someone like yourself who's got
for sure.
a million things to do.
For sure.
You've got 1,000 applicants. And obviously for startups and smaller companies, it's unlikely that you're going to have an HR team or an internal talent team. Obviously, you're trying to grow the business. So that's the last thing that you need to do. But can you remember the specific moment of where you were, of when you realized that this was going to take off?
Wow. Well, one of them was definitely when me and Sam were stood in the terraces of like one of the biggest football clubs in the world who'd just signed up, and we were like stood there thinking, we just had a phone call about this idea like 9 months ago. And now we're stood here and about to onboard this huge club, and that was a really surreal experience. And it's always kind of just grown from strength to strength. And we've never sort of paid to market it. We've never wanted to sort of do paid media. We've just always wanted it to grow organically, because we've always seen the last year as more of a test. Let's test it. Let's try it. Let's see. Do people want to apply for jobs? Because the way in which the app works is, companies upload 30 to 60 second clips, like a TikTok or a reel. And those short form videos are assigned 3 questions. So they could be anything. And actually the questions sometimes can give you a really good indicator of what the company's like, what the culture's like. So if your first question is, tell us about you, okay, fine. But we've had some where it's like, what's your go-to strategy to survive the zombie apocalypse? Okay, I'm starting to gauge what kind of company this is now. I'm gauging culture not just from the video, but from the questions.
So let's break that down and unpack it a little bit. So you open the app.
Yep.
You've got almost like a For You page.
So you have a list of cities on Explore.
Okay.
So wherever's got job availabilities, you'll have a list of cities. So let's say you choose Liverpool. You then choose Liverpool, and you can scroll through all the available jobs that are in Liverpool from
when
full-time,
you're scrolling
part-time.
through these jobs, what comes up?
So it's just like a reel or a TikTok video. So it's a video showcasing the particular position that's available. And on there you have an apply button. So obviously when you apply, you answer the 3 questions. You have 30 seconds to answer each question. You can re-record as many times as you want.
Okay, so you actually have to record yourself
you actually have to record the answers.
Questions.
However, nowhere in the app does it state you have to record yourself. So someone who applied for one of the jobs we had up as an account manager, they just filmed all of the music venues that they'd promoted gigs for and talked through them on one of the questions.
Interesting.
And then on the next question, they filmed a specific poster and spoke more about that. So they never actually filmed themselves. They just filmed the posters and themselves talking. And this is what we always try and say. Whenever businesses come on, they go, well, how do we make a post? How do we make a job post? How do you want to make one? It's your company. Sure, we can give you some ideas, but actually it's really important that you do it how you want to do it. You need to do it how you want your business to come across, because everyone's unique. Every business is unique. And that's exactly the same with an individual. We've never turned around to an individual and said, right, here's a cutout of a silhouette of a person. You put your head in it and you go, hello, like some kind of hostage video. No, we say, be you. One of the guys who applied for one of our jobs was walking his dog while applying. Straight away, I'm like, yes, 1,000,000%. I love dogs. It's great. So, and that's the thing. People, it's it's gone way away from how it used to be of like suits and ties and corporate, and it's just not like that anymore. We want people to, it's really important to be an individual, and that's what we wanted to give to people. Give them the platform that they can be an individual when they apply. And the great thing is as well is that we found, especially because we've hired a number of people off the platform for ourselves, what we always found is actually you get the best out of the person when you actually finally meet them, because you've almost validated them. So we'll give you an example. If I was going to apply for a job tomorrow, the first thing I would do is find the person spec for the job. I copy and paste it into ChatGPT. I paste my CV in and go, match my CV to this perfectly. And you're going to get the best CV ever. It's going to be amazing. And even if the company's using AI filters, it's going to get through because you've used all the right keywords. And we know like some really, really big job board guys, who are putting up the best part of 10 million applicants. And they're all like, most of these AI filters we use, they can be spammed. One guy was telling us he had a blank CV as the top CV for ages, and they couldn't work it out. Why is the top CV blank? Turns out some genius kid had just copied and pasted the best part of about 10,000 keywords and changed the text to white. And it beat every AI filter. So now you've got AI and AI fighting each other. But I'm not recruiting a server. I'm not recruiting this piece of paper. I'm recruiting an individual. And I think it's really important to see the individual and let the individual feel like they've been seen. And that's what we did with hiyrd. And that's why when we then message out to applicants who applied to us and say, hey, do you want to come in and meet us? They always do. Because they've taken the time to apply. We validated them by saying, I like you, not the ChatGPT written CV. I like you as a person. Let's meet, let's talk. And they always want to.
And I think it's changed a lot. Obviously, I'm only 26, but I remember my parents saying how they used to apply for jobs where they didn't have the qualifications in, so there was no chance of them getting that role. And I think life now has changed so much where everyone sort of like picked up on this. Like qualifications in some areas do matter, but people are hiring more based off the attitude, the personality type. And I think what you guys are doing, it really touches on that. Very nice. And also from the candidate's perspective, they get a good look into the company as well prior to actually just applying for 400,000 character job posting that they see on LinkedIn or on Indeed.
For sure. And it's crazy, like, even people with the strongest constitution, you scroll through some of these job boards, it's like, oh my God, it is sapping. It is just the most miserable experience to just go for this blue and white text-based job sort of boards, and they don't look any different to than did in the 90s.
It's all the jargon words for me.
And it's just like, oh, come on. And then every now and again, because they've paid for a premium post, they can put some photos on, and you're like, oh man, it's like early MySpace, man.
We're
it's
a forward-thinking evolution company.
Oh man, don't get me started.
Great company culture.
And you know what? Maybe this is like a good thing or a bad thing, but like with my previous business, there's a theme here. I had no experience in recruitment, like zero. The only experience I had in recruiting was hiring people for my previous business, and same for Sam, hiring people into his business. We're not recruiters. We've never been in that industry, and I think sometimes that can be a hindrance because you don't know the industry. But in the same token, I think actually you can come into an industry with a kind of a fresh set of eyes and go, well, why are you doing it like that? Well, we've always done it like that. And you go, no, maybe there's a better way. And we're not saying that everybody's going to want to apply for a job this way, because not everybody does. But certainly we found as well when we've spoken to people who are actually the complete opposite end, sort of almost in the boomer spectrum, people in their 60s and above. A lot of them are retired, and you say to them, oh, well, how about applying for like a job or a part-time job or even a voluntary position? They're like, oh, I have to fill out a form, and it's just, no, I have to put my glasses on and go. No. Whereas if you said, oh, you could just record some videos, it's like, yeah. Great.
Simple.
That sounds great. I'd like to do that. So it's not just young people. It's kind of, I think everybody whether you're whether you're a high level recruiter, whether you're a high level on some of these major job boards, I think everybody knows that the sort of jobs market is broken, especially the way it has to change. It has to change. It's going to change in a big way. We feel like we're going to be sort of at the forefront of how we change it, because it has to be. And just make it. You're never going to make job hunting exciting because it's a begrudging task.
Well, you could work with me.
Well, if they come to you, it's going to be class. It's going to be amazing. But typically, it's going to be a slog. And again, we're not saying hiyrd's going to make it the most amazing experience ever. But I think if you can just at least have a bit of reciprocation there, where okay, you want to see who I am, let me see who you are. Let's see what it's like to work there. Let's see your culture. Let's see what it is that's going on in this business, and then I'd be more inclined for me to show you. And it's just an easy way of doing it. I haven't got to sit there and go, oh, I've read this job spec and it sounds great. And again, now I've got to write a CV or I've got to get ChatGPT to write my CV. Then I've got to submit it. Then I'm going to wait. Then I'm going to have email back and forth and calls, and then I might miss the email or I might miss the call. Whereas, hiyrd, we've just built in the chat the same as you would do with WhatsApp or Instagram. So you get push notifications on the chat. Nice and simple.
It's all just in one place.
All just in one place.
So you've been hiyrd's been going for about 3 years now, is that right?
Yeah, so we started the idea in 22.
Mm-hmm. Recently launched 2.0.
So we're about to launch 2.0. We didn't want to just kind of take the idea and go, yeah, just make it and launch it and hope for the best. So when we first had the idea, what we wanted to do was go, okay, well, we have this hypothesis that we can make it better, right? And that's all it is. It's all any business idea is. It's just a hypothesis until you actually get it out there to people who are going to use it. And then you can kind of make your mind up whether actually it works or not. But what we initially did was we went out to a lot of different schools. And we did sort of focus groups of sort of people from 16 to 18. And you would just talk to them and go, what do you like about job hunting? And usually the vast majority would say they hate it. And actually, funnily enough, the very early days of hiyrd, we had some investors who were interested to invest in the company. And we'd just done a number of these sessions with these young people. And one of the investors was like, well, you see, the thing is, they're all going to be getting their jobs on Facebook. Facebook's where they get their jobs. And I was like, oh man. I'm like, you need to sit down because I've just been sort of speaking to these kids and none of them have Facebook. It was in my day, it was like the thing, I'm early enough to remember MySpace. God. But, I was like, they don't use Facebook. Nobody uses, very few people use Facebook.
Yeah, I don't use Facebook anymore.
It's not a thing. So Facebook's gone. None of them are sort of getting off the first page of Indeed before they just rage quit.
None of them are reading it.
And none of them are reading it. And you'd also say to them, okay, well, what if you saw a poster in a window that said, staff wanted, take down the email address? Would you go home and email them? And surprisingly, the answer is no. No, I'm not going to go and take down that email, go home, get on my phone, get an email server up, then type in the email address and then type up a CV. No, come on, really? And we were like, okay, well, what if you had a QR code? You could scan the QR code and go to the App Store and download an app. And then straight away you can see the venue, you can see the manager, you can see what it's like to work in there. And then instead of having to open up Mail or Gmail, you just click apply and you record some videos of you walking home on the bus, in your room, wherever, and apply. Would you do it? And everyone goes, yeah, that's how we want to apply for jobs. And then you go, oh, okay, great. But it's still, even at that point, it's still a hypothesis for us. Because people, especially in focus groups, yeah, you'd like to think they're being honest, but a lot of the times you just don't know. So before we launched the business, or the app on the App Store, we onboarded a lot of businesses. And we didn't want to, we wanted to make sure it was a sort of good spread of different types of businesses. So it wasn't just specific to hospitality. It wasn't just specific to coffee shops. It was a mixture. And especially venues that young people wanted to work for. Mm-hmm. It was really important for us because you didn't want to come on an app and see the same job at the same chain, for instance, because you go, well, this is just the recruitment for that company. So we made sure that I had a really good mix of jobs, and it was specifically in Liverpool. And we just put it out in the App Store. And we pushed it out. We told a few people about it, and just kind of let it grow from there.
And to present now, you haven't secured any investment.
So yeah, so we did. So me and Sam were obviously in the very fortunate place when it started that we could kind of front the company. We invested some money, and then we did sort of we had some friends who wanted to invest. So we were like, okay, let's do like a small sort of pre-seed friends and family round. So we got some. And off the back of it, we got some amazing investors coming, some just phenomenal people. We've got guys from PayPal. We've got an amazing investor in America who's just been phenomenal at sort of advice and just a really really good sort of rock for us when we've needed him. Right the way through to like we got somebody who IPO'd their company, who invested. Just a phenomenal individual. Some great investors. And it really helped us to sort of build and grow the company and bring on the talented people that we needed. We have some amazing people now working. We're still a super small team, but the people we've got are phenomenal. And again, the team is like the most important thing, which is why like recruitment and hiring is so important, because they're your number one.
Well, who else is going to run the business, right?
Exactly. Me and Sam, we've always say, we don't have all the answers. We can't do any of this, just me and him. We need these amazing people. So we're really lucky to be able to raise around to bring in some amazing people who really sort of bought into the vision and help see what we're doing. And like you sort of touched on at the very start of the podcast, it's a difficult time to raise money. It's a notoriously difficult time to raise money. People are hoarding cash. They don't want to invest money. And especially not into what you would deem like an ultra risky sort of marketplace style app business. It's, it's risky, it's huge risk, but the upsides are, are huge as well, And I think, someone put it best to me, one of the guys in America I was speaking to, he said it best when he was saying, look, if Snapchat was founded in the UK, it wouldn't exist today. They would never have got VC backing in the UK.
That's very true, actually. I don't know why I was acting surprised.
Couple of teenage kids like, we've got this idea for this app and the photos disappear. What? Yeah. Disappearing photo app. Yeah, and all the school kids are going to use it because it'd be great.
That's such a good point.
Could you imagine going into like some of the big asset management guys in the UK with that, who all come from like KPMG and stuff? They're going to go, well, what's your ARR? Well, nothing. We haven't got any. Well, how are you going to make money? With ads. Yeah, but when? When we've got millions of users. Well, when's that? When we've got money. Give us money and we'll grow it and scale it. And you're like, whereas, those guys.
Denied.
Yeah, exactly. It's 100%. They just go, no, not interested. No, it's too risky. And then they go and have like one of the biggest like tech initial, sort of tech IPOs in history. And it's like, okay, maybe those guys were onto something. But again, that's just, you can't hold any animosity towards British institutions and investors for it, because it's just not it's just not in their wheelhouse. I think I read something crazy the other day that was like, European VCs don't even outperform the market.
Elaborate on that.
It was a post on LinkedIn someone put up, and it was talking about like a breakdown of, the vast majority of European venture capital does not beat the returns of the market. So you could go and stick your £10,000 in an S&P 500 tracker fund, and you're probably going to return the same amount as if you invested in the majority of VCs. Which reading that post was like, if that's true,
that's very surprising.
That is absurdly wild. But having been on the end of a lot of pitch meetings and met with a lot of VCs, I could see how it's true to a certain degree, because
it's high risk.
It's high risk. You're always going to look for the thing that returns the revenue. My personal feeling on it is, a lot of these businesses that get VC money, it's like they should be just getting bank loans. Someone said to me once, we spoke to a VC and they said, when you're doing 500K ARR, come back and we'll look at funding you. if I was doing 500K ARR, I wouldn't be asking you for money. And if I did need money, I'd go to the bank and I'd loan the money and I'd build that way. Surely it's a better way to do it. Why would I give out equity at that point? The whole point of giving away equity at the start is so we can go big rapid scale. You can have a big penetration into a big marketplace and make a really, really, really good impact. And then you can introduce your sort of growth metrics okay, well, if we scale to X, we can introduce advertising. If we scale to X, we can do boosted posts. If we scale to X, that's, but again, it's just not a culture we have here, which is absolutely fine. It's
just how it is.
It's how it is. You accept it and go, do you know what? That's fine. That's great. Awesome. Great. You can't hold any animosity towards it. You just have to look and go, okay, well, where is it that you can gain funding from? We've been super lucky with people who, sort of bigger angels who really, really like what it is that we're doing, what we're building, and can see the sort of the upside potential.
Well, it seems like it's all heading in the right direction, but what have you and Sam and your other partners planned? Where are you planning on taking hiyrd? What's the goal?
So obviously our initial launch of the platform was to sort of trial the market space, trial the United Kingdom. Let's get it into the hands of people and let's see what they say. We know that the business feedback we get is that some of the best people they've ever hired have come through the platform. Some of the easiest hiring they've ever done. And likewise, on the flip side, for people that have used the platform to apply for jobs, a lot of them say they don't want to apply any other way. This is great. This is how I want to do it. For us going forwards now, our main focus is on like sort of what we would deem like the launching the platform. We have spent a long time doing a lot of research, working with some amazing partner businesses to look at launching the platform in Southeast Asia to begin with, purely because of amazing market, great market. It's, very large population of people. And we wanted to make sure that wherever this app went, you have the most upside potential for it, especially with those young people who are sort of, really, really want to engage with a platform like this.
It's the next generations.
Exactly.
So
at the moment, we've onboarded a couple of major corporates for sort of Southeast Asia. We're continuing to sort of onboard a couple more. And we're planning to launch within sort of the next couple of months out there. And that's really going to sort of help grow the business and the platform that we're in the direction we're looking to take the platform in, which is obviously Southeast Asia. We would love to start building it into other markets as well, Europe, America. But I think for now, our main sort of aim, the thing that we've really focused in on is that market for us. We want to be in that specific market, which is where we're going to go for. It's where I have a lot of contacts. It's where one of our investors has a lot of contacts, who was sort of former PayPal. So we're really sort of honing in on that market specifically.
It's a strategic move.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, if anyone watching right now wanted to get involved, check out the product, speak with yourself, maybe Sam or any other members of your team, where can they find you?
So it's hiyrd.com, so hiyrd.com. My email's just james@hiyrd.com. Anyone can shoot me a message, have a chat. The app at the moment is completely free to download. You can download it off the App Store. We can verify you as a business. We've got a new business portal that's launching, a new web app version that allows you to basically serve all of your content on to the hiyrd app in a much more sort of business-friendly way, because one of the big bits of feedback you get early on is, this is great, but I don't really want to have to use my phone to recruit people on. So we built a web app so people could use it on their laptop. So again, it's far more accessible. So you can get in touch with us. We can help you get set up on that. And yet, we just want people to come and sort of be a part of like this revolution of where we take this to be. We want, our mission is for it to become the go-to job platform.
Bigger than Indeed.
Way bigger. But in a way that is done, that again doesn't come with any, oh God, I've got to go to Indeed. You don't want that thinking. You don't want people to go, oh God, I've got to come to this. What we want to do is build a platform that people actually want to come to. We want to build a platform that people enjoy using and it gives the user something back, and they go, okay, I enjoyed that. If we can have one person go, do you know what? I didn't mind looking for a job on hiyrd. It was okay. It was good. We've done it. That's great. That's all we could ask for. Because of much like when we said about the businesses, you've certainly never found an individual that said, I loved job hunting. It was great. No one's ever said that. If I'm wrong, fine, come at me. But I haven't. I've met a lot of people and I've never met anyone who said, oh, I loved job hunting. It was great. So if we can make job hunting just that little bit more bearable, if we can start to introduce aspects of professional networking that actually allows people to see who you are, whether you're a business or whether you're an individual, that is what's super important to us. That's why we're building this platform, and that's why we want to scale it to the go-to platform.
I think you could potentially be onto something. It's very exciting. Personally, though, for you, what direction are you heading in? What are you working towards?
I think personally, obviously scaling and building out hiyrd is a huge sort of focus and goal. To take it as big as we possibly can, which we know is to the moon. Making sure that we're penetrating those correct markets. We're going for the places that have that big upside, that have those growth market potentials. That's what we're sort of mainly myself is focusing on. And just like enjoying the ride. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, as much as it sucks and you run a business and you get bogged down with the stress and how difficult it is, you kind of just got to embrace it and just enjoy the ride. Just, enjoy doing something that, unfortunately a lot of people don't get to experience, whether that's through circumstance, whether that's through the fact that they don't feel like they're supported enough, and that's one thing that I do really enjoy doing, is supporting people in entrepreneurship. I'm not saying that I'm Jeff Bezos, but I do love if people don't quite know how to get started, where to get started, that they're thinking about it. I sort of chat to people about it and help them build them up. I speak to so many young people who have, typically on the likes of LinkedIn, they'll get in touch with people and someone say, yeah, I'll give you some advice on your business, but now you can pay me, like pay me money to give you pay money to give advice on business. Like, come on, no. You're starting out. Like, I don't need, I spoke to a good few young people who are starting business
Myself
at universities.
included.
I don't need your money. What I need, and what all of these guys who are older than me, who've all been successful, what their attitude should be is, what I need is for you to go and succeed. I need you to go and smash it.
To inspire the next gen.
For real. I need you to go and be that British company that goes and crushes it. I need you to be that British entrepreneur that is a success story, because we're too quick to dismiss people. We're too quick to want to take money off people. And it's just insane. You want to just help people and say, look, here's the pros, here's the cons. I don't have all the answers, but what I do have is a really big library of mistakes. And if I can share the mistakes, I can share some of the positives, and it helps people and go, oh, actually, yeah, okay, that really, really helped. That's all I need. Go and do it. Go and crush it. Get inspired. Watch this and go, yeah, I can do it. Because you can. Anyone can do anything. You really can. You can go and smash it. You can have a great business. You can be successful. You can do it in whatever you choose to do it in. But you need the support and the belief in place to do it. And I think that's what we lack quite often. So if I can help, especially British entrepreneurs, young British entrepreneurs, feel like they can do it and they can achieve it and it is possible, happy days. That's great for me.
I love your passion, especially from my background where I feel education failed me. Yeah. I was always felt like I was up against it. Teachers telling me that I weren't ever going to amount to anything. And I'm getting to
proving them wrong,
getting them to meet people like yourself. My last question for you is for those young entrepreneurs. What would your advice be? Because obviously you mentioned entrepreneurship it's not easy.
No.
You're going to get bogged down plenty of times and you just got to keep going and going again. I'm sure you found yourself in that state a few times. What would your advice be to them?
Build that support network. If you can get as many great people around you as possible, whether it's co-founders, team members, whoever it might be, build that network. If you can, again, it's difficult. If you can find some really good advisors, people who can talk to you, people who can inspire you, people who can really make the difference, amazing. But I think the biggest thing is, if you really, really back yourself and you believe in yourself and you believe in a vision, you've got this big vision. If you can learn and understand how to sell that vision and get others to buy into the vision, you're halfway there. You're doing that. Now you're starting to get somewhere. And the only other piece of advice I would give right now is if you're under 25 and you're in the UK and you've got nothing attaching you to the UK, my only advice would be, or my only question would be, why are you here? I left and I grew my business outside the UK, my first business, and it worked great. Why are you here? What's the worst that could happen? Save up enough money for a return ticket. Go and try it. You'll find that outside of the UK specifically, the attitudes are very different, especially in like America, Asia. You say to people, I've got this crazy idea, and a lot of them will go, oh man, that's awesome. Let's do it. How can we help you build it? How can we build this thing? So that would be my biggest piece of advice is, if you really want to give it a go, if you really, really, truly want to build something and you think you've got a really great idea, don't build it here. Do not build it here. Go and build it somewhere where you'll get the support. Go and build it somewhere where you can find that amazing team of people. Go and build it where you can find the right sort of guidance and the right influence, because you're not going to find it here. Not right now. It's going to take some time. So don't let anyone hold you back. Go and do it. Go and crush it. Go and make a success of it. And yeah, believe in yourself.
Great advice. Some I need to take on myself. But James, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much for
it.
having me on, and yeah.
It's great having you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to Calculated Risks, episode 9. I interviewed James Boyd, co-founder and CEO of hiyrd. We went through a lot of his experiences, and I loved how passionate he was about helping the next generation in entrepreneurship, as well as helping them find a new role. If you want to find James, you can find him on LinkedIn at James Boyd, and he's more than happy for you to reach out to them if you want to have a conversation. Thank you.